This is Kathy Biehl of Empowermentunlimited.net with Astro-Insight for the week of January 21st, 2019. Now we're cooking. Pressure and tension that have been in the air, under the ground, around, building, brewing, since easily last September are breaking open, are hitting a point of detonation, of movement, and definitely of no return. The influences and events of this week are all over the time-space continuum. They are wrapping up a cycle, developments, themes, issues that started 2.5 years ago in the summer of 2016, and they're going to play out for at least 3 months, maybe 6. Keep that in mind as events and realizations pop up this week, because all of them have something to do with a situation that's already been in place, already been stressed, already been pressured. You may be forced out of your comfort zone. You may be blasted out of certain relationships. Your heart is definitely in the middle of everything that is going on. And actually, your heart, your desires, your core relationships are only going to get better. With so much breaking loose so quickly, you're not going to have time to sit and think. You will simply act. You will gravitate toward what you want, what feels good, toward the safe, expansive situations. The metaphor of a wall is going to be important for everybody. Collectively, in the U.S. as a nation, individually, we are pushing off against walls, pushing away from restrictions, from structures. We are blasting out outmoded institutions, unsupportable foundations and goals, and blasting toward situations that feed our hearts and allow us to grow and show more and more of our true selves. This is the wrapping up of the Leo-Aquarius eclipses that began during the summer of 2016. They reached a peak in the U.S. during the Great American Eclipse of the summer of August 2017, at the very end of the sign of Look at Me, Leo, and now we have the wrapping up lunar eclipse at the very beginning of the sign of Look at Me, Leo. This time period has had an imperative of getting your light more and more out in the world, your own unique self-expression, your own spark, finding the people who enjoy it, appreciate it, applaud it, have their own lives improved by it, and staying away from the people who are trying to put out your spark. So there's a lot of saying goodbye going on now, a lot of sudden endings. Some of them are going to be bittersweet because there are people who probably have been dear to you, whose lives are going to go off in a different direction. You're already seeing it. The timing is what's going to be startling. I doubt that any one particular departure at this point is going to take you completely by surprise. And if that does happen, sit and think, and you will realize that there were clues earlier that you either didn't see or you chose not to see for what they were saying to you. A lot of truths, disclosures, revelations continue to come out, give us the backstory, show us more and more what was really going on, take our blinders off, reveal how we've been deceived, whether we did it ourselves or somebody else was spinning a line. As we head toward the weekend, we gain greater objectivity in our ability to observe all of this, in information, in what we think, in what we say. Mercury, the planet of communication, is entering the sign of Aquarius, very probably delivering messages about what this eclipse is about, putting us in a tree so we can look down on our life and watch things going on, giving us more of a philosophical slant, oh, well, okay, I see why. And the combined effect of all of this is ultimately not going to be depressing. We've been through a lot of the bleak aspect of all of this. It's going to be energizing, motivating, throwing us into alliances that are forward-moving and lighting fires within each of us to go for what we want. A phrase I've used before may come in quite handy, which is, life's too short to eat sheet cake. Knowing what's most important to you, what really matters, and focusing on that and going for it. with gusto. And yes, there's a bit of a fighter vibe here too, a bit of a warrior vibe, but it's more like fighting for causes, fighting for the future, assertively/aggressively going after what you want. This will be really emboldening even more for the feminine archetype, the warrior woman coming increasingly to the rise, particularly in politics. This eclipse and the cycle that it has been in sound the death knell for the leader as it has been. So watch all kinds of men leave positions of power and women increasingly move up to take up the slack. And on a personal level, if you've ever been around someone who faced a very serious illness and rethought their life, or if that has happened to you, we're all heading into a moment like that, facing mortality, facing changing circumstances, realizing increasingly the very short list of people, issues, goals, activities, situations that really truly feed your heart, cherishing them, spending much more time and energy on them, and not getting caught up in the circuses that are going on all around you. This is the only life you have this time around. Wherever you are in it, decide to embrace it and enjoy it. Homing thought of the week. Show me another way to look at this. Song of the week. My entire Venus and Mars playlist that I have on Spotify. Look for the link below the podcast description. And the image of the week, I actually have two. One is the Grinch's heart growing 3 sizes in one day. And human cannonballs. You'll find more about all of this in my Astro-Insight forecast for the Leo full moon lunar eclipse, which is up at my site, Empowermentunlimited.net, where you can sign up for my mailing list and book a session with me. Also, under the Classes tab, you will find links for my 2019 Astro Overview talk and my talk about this year's eclipses. There's bonus content about both of this month's eclipses at my Patreon, patreon.com/Kathy Biehl. And I am deeply grateful to the patrons who are supporting Astro Insight there and keeping it from going behind a paywall. Talk to you next week.